It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Oh, listen, we need to get JP Sebastian some glasses. What do you think?
Oh, well, you were just looking for yours, and I told you
I
that
know,
the king is within, isn't it?
The king is within. We are talking movies with JP Sebastian, but not just movies. We're going to talk about a very specific movie and the person who had to prepare for that role. We are looking at the movie Elvis, which is releasing today.
That's right. It's a
and
big deal.
we're going to take a look at the main character, Austin Butler.
With your special guest, JP.
You look good. It suits you with the hair and the suit. If anyone on this set looks like Elvis, it is JP, and I'm not just saying it to flatter you.
You tell this to all the Elvis impersonators in your life. Okay, so tell you what.
Many. Let's start off with the main character, Austin Butler.
Austin Butler.
Who is Austin Butler?
Do you know him from anything?
I honestly don't.
No one really does. If you look at his IMDb, there's nothing really going on. So, how was he selected? Firstly, there were other big names that were on the chopping block and up for consideration. Who were these big names? Well, I'll show you. First was Aaron Taylor Johnson. People might know him from stuff like Godzilla. There he is in Bullet Train that's coming up next month in South Africa. Harry Styles, probably people recognize. Don't Worry, Darling is out in September. Miles Teller from Top Gun Maverick. And Ansel Elgort from West Side Story. Okay. All of them were up for it. Obviously, all ended up doing different things. So where is Austin Butler from? And it took one big name to make a phone call for this comparative nobody to land the part.
Who was that person?
Denzel Washington phones for Austin Butler, phones Baz Luhrmann, the director. Baz Luhrmann says, I don't know Denzel Washington, never met him in my life. He makes a personal phone call and says, you need to give this kid the chance. He's one of the hardest working young actors I've ever met in my life. They work together, and the photograph you're looking at there is from the Broadway play Iceman Cometh. Coleman McNeely in the middle, looking pretty jaded. I'm sure that he wasn't chosen for Elvis, but Austin Butler on the left, obviously Denzel Washington on the right. And so on the stage play, they work together. Austin Butler says Denzel almost becomes a life coach to him, takes him under his wing. So they've got this strong personal relationship in much the same way Chadwick Boseman had with Denzel Washington. So
I got goosebumps just hearing this, that Denzel Washington picked up the phone and said, you know, this is someone. Now let's talk about, okay, he got the role, and now this hard work and this work ethic is coming through, because how did he prepare to become Elvis in Elvis?
Slip on the blue suede shoes. I mean, our cameraman Prosper raises a good point. Imagine the pressure of standing up to Denzel Washington's name and saying, oh, sure, I'll live up to his recommendation. So what he did is he sends in a demo tape for Baz Luhrmann, the director. He was told to do one song, I think it was Blue Suede Shoes, instead decides to do Unchained Melody because he feels like his performance of Blue Suede Shoes is a bit too much like just emulation. Okay. Just too much like a higher, type impersonator. And that's a job too, and that's a real thing and whatever. But you want to embody Elvis. You can't just impersonate Elvis. Tell you what, I'm going to take it.
You can take it off.
I'm feeling way too cool.
You can
I'll
hold on to them.
And so he sends in a tape of Unchained Melody. Why? Poor Austin Butler says that he really feels heart-to-heart with Elvis because both of them at age 23 lost their mother. And he decides to sing Unchained Melody to her, basically.
Oh, wow.
Says that he knows it's a romantic song, but the force that comes across into it, his performance and the audition tape that he sends into Baz Luhrmann. Baz Luhrmann, the director, says he wasn't sure if this was a performance or if someone was having a nervous breakdown. So it almost was a rocky start, but it intrigued the director that this person was breaking down at the piano the way Austin Butler was. So in really intense embodiment, devotion to the whole character and whatever. Aside from that, you have voice coaches galore, of course. One of the problems being, by the way, and it's a big question people will have, is the actor performing the songs themselves, right? It's a classic question. Are they doing their thing? Now, his difficulty is, of course, you're doing a career that spans from age 17 to 42. There's only so much a human voice can do. Austin Butler is definitely performing all the songs of young Elvis. But there are blends and eventually the original Elvis at the very end. Why is that? Because Elvis's body actually changes. He gains a lot of weight in ways that he really did not plan for. He has an opiate addiction and whatever. The final performance, in fact, Austin Butler says he nearly broke down into tears again because you feel how sad and depressed and alone and crushed this character was, this man was, under his own lungs, under his own weight, that he was performing in what they refer to as a fat suit, basically.
Yeah, because I'm very excited to go see this movie, only because it was not too long ago.
Yes.
I did a little Google on Elvis Presley because I was just intrigued with those final moments of his life and how that happened, because to die in your early 40s
42,
is...
yeah.
is you know, and being such a huge pop star, I was fascinated, and it's going to be beautiful to see this journey being played out.
Yeah, and one of the scary things about it, and I'm sure this is one of the curiosities you have next, there was a bit of news about what happened to Austin Butler.
Yes, because you said, you know, he threw his all into this movie, and then he was hospitalized after the filming of the movie.
So the devotion was almost possibly too much, and maybe that's a difficulty with young actors. Do you remember what happened with Heath Ledger, for example, in Batman? Worked his body literally to death. And funny enough, what happened to Austin Butler, don't worry, he's still alive, nearly worked himself into a grave, devoting himself to Elvis, like I said, for 3 years before, and then 6 months intensive only working on Elvis. Ended up hospitalized after the final day of shooting because medical professionals were saying Austin Butler's body was shutting down, basically.
Sure.
So yeah, it's not the kind of thing that you should necessarily hope that all young people do to themselves, and hopefully in future he gets to control that a bit better. But he was even having identity issues afterwards. The next director he worked with, Cary Fukunaga, said, it's a war movie, it's not about Elvis, but I'm still dealing with an actor who very much feels like he's Elvis.
Okay.
Tell you what though, we spoke so much about how he prepared for it, his loneliness at the piano and that breakdown that he had. We're not going to show you that one, but I want to show you some pre-production test footage. This is before the makeup, before the glitz, before the glam, and everything that you will see coming out today in the movie Elvis. Beautiful Austin Butler putting his heart and soul into a bit of performance for you. Check it out.
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, Mama. Just any way you do. That's all right. Oh, that's all right. That's all right now, Mama. Any way you do. Well, Mama, she done told me. Papa done told me too. Son, that guy's a fool. He wish he ain't no good for you. Well, that's all right. Oh, that's all right. That's all right now, Mama. Anyway, play.
That is amazing. Now, JP, if you're going to put your body, your mental health, your emotional health on the line like that, doesn't that mean at least you should be nominated for an Oscar?
The big O word, yes, of course. Well, the other one. Definitely going to get an Oscar nomination. Austin Butler, I have a newfound respect for him after doing all this research that I did. The kind of devotion that he put in is incredible. And yeah, you'll definitely see him at the Oscars next year, but you can see him on Elvis today on the big screen.
Oh, there we go. I'm actually quite happy they chose an unknown actor because now this is the perfect platform for him to break out. And of course, we are celebrating Elvis throughout the show today, so stay tuned. JP Sebastian's not going.
Give us a